here in second here. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. Looks like I'm live everywhere on this 19th day of October. Look like the Braves are going to take a 3-0 lead in the NLCS. Late comeback there by the Dodgers, make it 2-1. Typical of Atlanta to blow leagues in postseason. I kind of think takes me back to the 19. I want to say, was it 96? I thought it might have been 98, where they had a 2-0 lead in the World Series and blew that to the New York Yankees. Hey, got a good show tonight, but first I got a few announcements. First of all, Thursday, no show Thursday. I've got a scheduling conflict. I've got some routine maintenance to do on my car. It's going to mess up my prep time Thursday. So there won't be a program Thursday. Now, Saturday or Sunday, 7:30 a.m. Central Time. I always want to remind everybody that I'll be on the Mac and Jack show on the Northeast Streaming Network there with Jack Hirsch and Mac there, along with Jim Jeffcoat talking this week in sports. Very good questions, good conversation, good show to tune in around 7:30 a.m. Central Time. One more announcement. Jay, let me make sure I get Jay's last name right. Jay Mills. Jay Mills, former college football coach. This guy works in ministry. I want to say he's also a pastor. He's got a book called Game On. It is wrote by the Lou Holtz of Notre Dame, wrote the foreword for this book. Several comments, Dabo Sweeney. This guy knows a lot of people. Jay Mills Pickles. Next Tuesday, I will be interviewing him to talk about his book, and I will get it. I told him I was going to get the book. I met Jay through Facebook friends, mutual friends, and whatnot, and he asked to come on the program, and I'm excited that he asked to come on Sports Scope. So we must be doing something right here. So thank you, everybody, for sharing the show and making an impression on a guy like Jay Mills. Mills is former college football, Georgia. Let me see who he's Notre Dame, not Georgia Southern. I did have a place where he all coached at. Now I can't find it. But either way, this is going to be a good interview. Good interview. M-I-L. That is exactly how you spell it. Yes, Pickles. So keep an eye out for that. 1 week from today, right around the start time of the program, Game On by Jay Mills. Again, Lou Holtz, the great Lou Holtz. I think he coached under Lou Holtz. He's worked at Harvard and everything else. Dabo Sweeney says, whether you enjoy athletics or not, you and those you lead will benefit if you transfer these lessons to your life. Dabo Sweeney on this review called Game On. So tune in for that, everybody. I'm looking forward to speaking with Jay Mills. He may be, I'll ask him that, Pickles. I'll ask him that, okay? Okay, so let's get to the title of the program, which I start off aggressive wins, okay? I know a lot. There's been a lot of discussion about that Monday night football game. And well of a game. Well, I usually don't stay up and watch those games because, I'm working late. I do stay up late on Tuesdays and Thursdays to do the program. And you guys, I work 12-hour shifts. But this was a really good game. Well of a rush attack by Tennessee. Buffalo playing like the best team in the league, even though they do have one loss coming into this game. They had the best defensive points allowed and points scored. So statistically, they're the best team in the league other than record-wise, and I'll talk about Arizona here in a little bit. But going forward on 4th and inches, I want to say it was 24 seconds left. 2 timeouts. You could have kicked the chip shot field goal to tie it. Okay, I'll say this. When you have a 6'5" quarterback there, I don't care if you're an analytics person or a non-analytics person. and you're on the road, hostile environment, you've got the ball moved on more than you have. That's the most points they've gave up all year, folks. And I'm going for it 10 out of 10 times. Sean McDermott, have no issue with that whatsoever. Absolutely no issue with that whatsoever. I do think that is a really good football team there in the Buffalo Bills. Come off a really emotional road game against Kansas City. Tennessee played over their heads from what they have been playing in that game. It was a really good game. Again, I would have went for it 10 out of 10 times. And I'll talk about an issue what I would have went for it again if I were Dallas. Similar situation in that missed field goal later on in the program. So when you got it, for example, Derrick Henry, 143 yards. Pickles, you took the words right out of my mouth. That's why I put that comment on the screen. Derrick Henry looked like Jim Brown. He is the Jim Brown of this generation. That's the longest rushing play, folks, of the season. 71 yards scrambled by Derrick Henry. He looks like a guy that's like a refrigerator with arms. I was looking at my refrigerator last night, and I'm thinking to myself, he's bigger than my refrigerator. He's taller. My refrigerator is probably 5'10". I'm 5'8", okay? I think Henry's like 6'1". You know, he's got a body, got the height of an Eric Dickerson. Some of you old-timers there from the 80s. Raiders from the, was it Raiders or Rams? Or maybe both. I don't know. Eric Dickerson type of body, but with the frame of a Jim Brown and the speed of an Eric Dickerson type of player. I've never seen anybody quite like Derrick Henry, you know, but they're the number one rush defense, and they got beat on all cylinders there. But going back to that call, going back to the 4th and inches, similar call last year, okay? Yeah, I got a lot of heat for it. Ron Rivera on the road at East Rutherford, New Jersey, at the Giants. He's coaching the Washington football team, okay? They score late. They were down by 1, but he felt like that they had the momentum, and he did not want this game to go into overtime. For whatever reason, he did not want this game. It was very much at the end of the 4th quarter. Well, Rivera, nicknamed Riverboat Ron, goes for it, the 2-point conversion. They miss. The Giants win last year, okay? Well, you know what happened later on that year, last season? Washington football team went on later on to win the division last year. You know, so the Riverboat Ron did not win that time, but guess what? They went on to win the game or to win the division. And it's that type of thinking. What that message sends to your team is that we are going to play fearless football. We are going to play not reckless. We're not reckless, but we're going to play with confidence. And we are not going to, if you coach scared, if you coach conservative, if you coach not to make mistakes, if you coach like you have to play the perfect, your team, and that's the same thing in management and business, folks. If you do that, your team will play scared. They will play timid. They will play not to their full potential. I see it all the time. I followed the Titans when they had Jeff Fisher. A lot of times the team played, they would give up leads late in games. And, they were so used to running the ball and just protecting the ball. They played timid, and they end up losing a lot of them. That's why he never got a Super Bowl ring, okay? But I'd agree with that particular call 100 times out of 100. Again, great performance by Derrick Henry last night. Still think Buffalo's probably the better team overall, player for player. But I'll say this, Mike Vrabel has had and I've said this before, he's had a way of getting this team up in Tennessee to play these big games. particularly these primetime games. His first year, for instance, 2018, Dallas looked good that year. What was the name? Get Up. I can't remember. One of the First Take was in Dallas, and they were going on and on about the Cowboys, and they were playing the Tennessee Titans, and the people said, well, Dallas going to win by 10, and there was a lot of hype all day talking about the game. Dallas this, Dallas that, and Vrabel. This was back when Marcus Mariota was there, and Tennessee went in there and beat them by 2 touchdowns, 28-14. He has a way of getting this team to play that underdog role. Well, now they don't do well as a favorite, but you put them in prime time as a massive underdog, and they rise to the challenge just about every time. This coach has been there, Mike Vrabel, because he coaches physical, he coaches aggressive, and he knows what buttons to push. I just wish he would do it on the Jets games and playing at Cincinnati last year, team games like that. But you look at them, major underdogs against the Patriots, 2-0 against them. They were major underdogs. Year before last against Baltimore, 14-2 Baltimore team. And he just was up there and wins. They've split with Kansas City. They've got to play Kansas City again this week. I would lean Tennessee in that game if Henry can run the ball like that. But I could see Tennessee play Monday night, big emotional win. I could see Kansas City coming up here and beating them, but that could go the other way as well. So I wrote loss when I was talking about Tennessee. But aggressive wins. I mean, play confident, play aggressive. You don't have to be reckless. There's not you can play aggressive without reckless is putting your head down and running towards the end zone and holding the ball open. That's playing reckless. Holding the ball in the palm of your hands. That was what Dak Prescott did in the Dallas game, and that's a good transition. Now, despite a slew of errors by Dallas, they had 12 penalties, mismanagement of the play clock, of course, with Mike McCartney. Again, red zone turnovers, particularly that one on the goal line with Dak Prescott. Well, it's just a slew of errors, and they still found a way to win and cover that. That tells you how much better they really are, Dallas is, per se. My observations of that particular game, going back to that, playing aggressive. Dallas is 4th and 1. There is 2 minutes to go, 2 timeouts. And I know you got Greg Zerline. They vowed to kick the field goal. It was 4th and inside 1. With that offense, and they missed the field goal, 49-yarder. Well, you just put New England practically at midfield with all that time. The same play I criticized Bill Belichick for a few weeks ago when they played Tampa in the rainstorm, going for a long field goal, giving Brady all that time. Again, I would have went for it on 4th down. Of course, Cowboys catch a break. You know what happened next? Mac Jones throws the ball, pick 6. Trayvon Diggs. He's the younger brother of Stephon Diggs, Pickles. I just read that today. Younger brother got a pick 6. This guy's got a shot at Defensive Player of the Year. And, of course, Mac Jones threw the pick 6. Guy's got a short memory, comes back, throws a 75-yard strike to take the lead. 75-yard strike to Kendrick Bourne for the touchdowns and take that 21-15 lead. Now, my observation about that, he only had 221 yards in that game, 15-21 for Mac Jones. Not to sound like a broken record, but I like to hit things home. And Josh McDaniels and ultimately Bill Belichick got to look at that and say, we've got to take the training wheels off this guy. That was a very much Pickles, a Eli Manning type of throw. That he threw the pick six to get the ball back. Then he makes another big play, and then they score the touchdown. And ultimately, Dallas wins it in CD Lamb touchdown in overtime to end the game. But that's what he's got to do with Mac Jones. They don't quite got the talent. I've said that time and time again. Next season, when Dallas has another off season, they're going to have more money. They are going to be able to have draft picks and draft capital where he's not making those picks. He's actually having to listen to his scouts. That was orders coming from Robert Kraft because he been jacking up. He being Bill Belichick. Nobody's perfect. We've talked about that time and time again. For somebody else picking the talent, particularly wide receiver, other defensive players, pass rushers, lineman help, stuff like that of that nature. Okay, so they still need that, and they still need to evolve Mac Jones in that offense. As far as Dallas, three turnovers, 12 penalties, still found a way to win and score over 30 points. They are the real deal. They're not the only deal in the NFC, but they are the real deal. Still feel confident about that team moving forward as the season goes along, as long as they stay relatively healthy. Okay. Millennials. Technically, by the years. Born in 1981, 40 years old. Me. Okay. Kevin Stefanski is 39 years old. I thought he was older than me. I'm talking about the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. Now, good and bad. There's been articles about millennials. We're nicer people, more into social media. A lot of people in my generation got the trophies, participation trophies. So we're our softer side of series. There was an article, I want to say, might have been New York Times or somebody, said that millennials can bring the country together, the political divisiveness together, the racial tension together, that some people are making up for political purposes, but that's not the meaning of my point, right? So, not very good arguers. We're more passive people, more sensitive, according to all these studies, right? And I think Kevin Stefanski is a little bit of that. That's the head coach of Cleveland Browns. He's a little that's my sense of Kevin Stefanski. Guy won Coach of the Year last year. Kind of reminds me, and I've had a good friend of mine talk to me about this, Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens, former coach of Boston Celtics. He's a little bit older, but you get my same drift, right? Very analytical, not very confrontational, not argumentative. And he couldn't get on a player's rear end and tell him to get down and play defense, And the reason why I'm saying this is Cleveland last week, okay, they coming off of a loss, bad loss, blew a lead, gave up 47 points. Mayfield couldn't come through at the end, but Arizona's coming to Cleveland, desperate Cleveland. Baltimore's breathing. Baltimore's up. Cincinnati's up in the division. Pittsburgh's not dead. They're actually coming back to resurrect in that AFC North. Most talked about team in the offseason other than Tampa's Cleveland. And I bought the hype, right? So Arizona missing Pro Bowl level center, Rodney Hudson, Chandler Jones, COVID, best pass rusher. He's out. Okay. Cliff Kingsbury, head coach. He's out. All right. No coach, no general manager. Good general manager, no general manager. Week before that, Kyler Murray has a shoulder problem, and he has limited all week. He had 1 yard rushing last week. It was a San Francisco game. Limited all week. Wasn't sure if he was even going to play. And they come across the country to Cleveland and beat them 37-14. If it wasn't for a Hail Mary at the end of the half, they would have beat them 37-7. So essentially, this Cleveland team that I've been raving and ranting about defensively have gave up 47 points to the LA Chargers, who only gave up six. Baltimore's defense only gave 6 points to the same team. And then the very next week, they give up 37 points at home. So you do the math on that. 84 points in 2 games. In 2 games, that defense has gave up 84 points. You're not going to win anything in that. And now they've got a short week. They've got to play Denver on a short week. Now they're 3-3, and they're dead last in the division. Dead last. And every article I've read we talked about this last week, and I'll reiterate it this week. You have best off season, most deepest team. Every analytical data would say that this team should be 6-5-0, and Arizona should be 2-3. That's what but games aren't played on paper, Pickles. They're played on the field. Okay. And you look at Stefanski, he needs to, I'm saying all this because Baker Mayfield's not 100%. He's not playing that good anyways. You know, he's 2 turnovers early in the game, right in the other red zone, in their own red zone. He thinking he can get to the sideline or get linebacker runs him down, knocks the ball out of his hand. He's grimacing. You got a guy equaled his talent, Casey Keenum, sitting on there while the game is still in hand. It's only a 2-score game at home by then. And you still want to keep this guy in here because you don't want confrontation, Kevin Stefanski. Because that's that millennial in you. Now, me, I'm from the hood. I'm an outlier. Joe Judge is an outlier. He's my age too. He's a little too far the other way. He's too far the other way. But if I'm Stefanski, I'm getting in that coaching staff room and said, you guys, I'm going to have to start moving some people around, okay? Joe Woods, we're going to have to start moving you around a little bit. Casey Keenum is going to be our starting quarterback until you get healthy or play better. Casey Keenum is going to be the starting quarterback, okay? Dallas last year, when they were historically bad defensively, they started cutting players. That's what they started. They started cutting players and moving people around. And that's what I would be doing. Personally, I know that this probably wouldn't be done. I'd probably let Joe Woods go. I know it's tough. You got family here, but this is a business. You got to make tough decisions. That's your job as the head coach. You're the head coach. Everybody in that office works for you. And then you work for the general manager and then the president, whatever structure he works for. Then the owner, works for everybody else. Everybody else works for him. So you have to, those are 3 things. On top of that, we talked about this last week. Mary Kate Cabot, Cleveland.com, right her up there. She said they needed to trade Odell Beckham. I talked about that last week. Try to see if you can get another linebacker in there. Mwasamu, your young linebacker rookie sensation, he's hurt. I said this even if he wouldn't hurt last week, if I'm Cleveland. Go out there and trade. See if you can trade with Chicago and get the linebacker there, Raekwon Smith. Okay? So those are tough decisions. You have to be confrontational to do some of those things. You have to these are uncomfortable conversations. As a manager or as a supervisor, when I was 25, 26, managing people twice my age. I had to write up twice my age and older. Those are a little scary there, a little intimidated. But someone was bullied around, lived in the inner city, got a double major, grew up in the hood, and I got a bachelor's degree. Don't take well to bullying and intimidation. So that's my issue with Cleveland. Biggest disappointment in the entire league this year. Absolutely. So that's what they need to do to get it back together. That's my opinion of that team. On the flip side, 6-0. I mean, these guys are legit. Arizona, Max Williams out for the season. They make a trade and go get Zach Ertz, Pro Bowl level, if not very close to it. Tight end from Philadelphia. And let me just tell you this real quick, folks. This team is legit, man. I mean, they beat the Rams 37-20. That's how bad they beat the Rams. They were a little flat early in the Jacksonville game. They got Houston this week. I could see it being flat early in the Houston game. Coming back and rallying. Excuse me. They beat Tennessee on the road. It was about 17 points, something like that. They remind me of the 2019 49ers. They are just a little bit quicker on defense than everybody else in the league. And they simply got too many options on offense. Chase Edmonds, explosive running back, even Connor, James Conner used to play for Pittsburgh. He's getting in the mix. They made this trade for Zach Ertz. He didn't even play. I've talked about Rondale Moore. A.J. Green seems to be healthy. He's the fourth receiver behind, of course, DeAndre Hopkins and Christian Kirk being number 2. They got 4 options there. And then Pickles talks about Budda Baker, A.J. Simmons on defense, Chandler Jones, J.J. Watt for veteran leadership. This team they are a Super Bowl sleeper. If they stay, and of course, that's if they keep those players along with Kyler Murray, who's probably the favorite to win the MVP right now. If it was today, he would win it because the writers give best player, best team. Well, they're 6 and nobody else is 6-0. Okay, so it would go to Kyler Murray. And this team is a legit Super Bowl contender. If they stay relatively healthy, that's if they stay fully healthy. They're probably going to win this division. I know they still haven't played the rest of their division. They still got Seattle coming up. They got one more against the Rams. They got one more against, obviously, the 49ers. So I'm not here to write the others off. I'm just telling you they've shown the signs of a Super Bowl team. That Tennessee Titans went 6-0, 7-0, 99. Kind of reminds me of that team. Got some breaks. Make your own breaks, lucky breaks. If Murray stays upright, they're just a time and a half quicker than their opposition. Cleveland looks slow out there with all those players. And that's a big question. Can Kyler Murray stay healthy? They still got 11 games. Remember, we're talking 17-game season here. If he could stay upright and he's had clean pockets, check the ball down, they're running better out of the shotgun with Edmonds than they have before with their other running backs. So they have a bright future this year. They're pushing up on number 1 seed in the NFC action. If they have the same type of record, say, as Tampa, they probably win the tiebreaker because the NFC West is going to be better than the South. Hold on, folks. All right, I'm back. So that is what I have to say. They are definitely a legit Super Bowl contender, and I'm not being hyperbolic, Pickles. Okay? But that is what it is, you know. And I'll say this: same division, Baltimore ran all over the Chargers. So that's the weakness of this Charger team. The two teams that could run the football, Dallas and Baltimore, ran all over these guys. Again, Ronnie Stanley. You talk about excuses. This is why I don't people shouldn't make excuses for Cleveland. Ronnie Stanley, left tackle for Baltimore, is out for the season. He went on season-ending injury. And this team, that's the 17th Raven placed on IR. And they have the best record in the AFC. So if the playoffs started today, the Ravens would be the number 1 seed and have a bye week since Buffalo lost. Okay? And they've had 17 players. Now some are going to come off of IR. But 17 players on IR, and they got the best record in the AFC. And so they would have the bye week. And then you look at Arizona, 6-0, they would be the number 1 seed in the NFC. If you're not going by the standards of the league, if you're saying most valuable player, it would be Lamar Jackson, a guy that I've just been wrong about, man. I mean, he is getting better and better. He's starting now to remind me of Steve McNair in year 3, year 4. I want to say McNair, the Tennessee Titans, the late great Steve McNair, was drafted in 95. And in year 4, I want to say it's year 4 for Lamar Jackson, was 1999. He ran and he threw off the run. Now, Lamar don't quite got the touch of a Steve McNair, but he is a little quicker. He's got more lateral movement than McNair, and he did win an MVP in his second year than Steve McNair. And he's got a better coaching staff around him, an organization, than McNair did. But I really have to give them, he would be my midseason MVP, although you could make an argument for guys like Derrick Henry. Obviously, I just said Kyler Murray. Some people brought up Derek Carr, leads the league in a lot of statistics, I think, yards. And, of course, Tom Brady, you know. But with all those injuries, you got to give it to Lamar Jackson. They play Cincinnati this week. Cincinnati's improved. Cincinnati is they have blown Cincinnati out twice last year, I want to say. But Cincinnati, a little bit better offensive line this year. Not much better, I don't think. And they do have an extra option there at Jamar Chase, playing like a Rookie of the Year candidate there with Cincinnati. That's going to be a good game. I still think Baltimore's probably going to be too much for them, you know. But anyways, very impressive move by there in LeVar Jackson. Okay, well, I said last week, Ed Orgeron, LSU, reminds me a lot of Gene Chizik, except he's a really good recruiter. And, you know, this guy, if it wasn't for Joe Burrow, would have been canned a few years ago. So they go out, LSU, they beat Florida, and then after the game, LSU says, you know what, this guy's not returning. He's not going to return this season, and he's going to get a $17 million buyout. Talk about a golden parachute, Pickles. That's okay. There's been some stuff about him and this young woman, and those photos and stuff. That's been a distraction. And, of course, the team's just not playing up the par. They've already got 3 losses. So they decided to move on. not really a big surprise there that LSU is going to move on from him. I'll say this: LSU, I've already been reading that they about who the next candidates may be and who the AD is. That was Bruce Feldman here from I want to say from the Athletic has put out like a list of people, but this guy Scott, keep this name in mind, Scott Woodard. Scott Woodard is the athletic director of LSU. Why does that mean anything? Well, Scott Woodard is a big swinger. I mean, he's a swing for the fences. He comes over from Washington, and this guy, after other tries by other teams for years, tried to get Chris Peterson from Boise State. This guy does it. He will call, and he has already contacted Jimbo Fisher from Texas A&M. He will make people say no, is from what I'm reading. He will contact Dabo Swinney from Clemson. And of course, he's probably going to say no. Mario Cristobal from Oregon. Mind you that they beat Ohio State this year. Now, Cristobal, I like Cristobal. He's a little bit like what they've already had, okay? Cristobal coached Justin Herbert, and Herbert at times did not look good. The offense looked vanilla. We know how good Justin Herbert is. Last week aside against the Baltimore Ravens, but we know how good he is. This guy is an excellent recruiter. Well, they've had that with Ed Orgeron and Les Miles. They want a more X's and O guy that can also recruit. This school recruits itself. Teams like Ohio State, LSU, they primarily, you don't have to recruit much from those teams. It's good to have a better recruiter, don't get me wrong. Georgia, for instance. Georgia, a lot of guys in the NFL right now. Todd Gurley, people like that. Guys all over the place under Mark Richt. But now you look at Georgia's team. Now they're championship good. They're national championship. They got linebackers, defensive tackles, running backs, wide receivers, just guys everywhere. Little bit higher quality. So they want a guy who can coach X's and O's. And they want a guy that can coach the Jimmies and Joes. And this guy, you know, the fact that Scott Woodard, I've been talking about USC reaching out to Chris Peterson, former Washington coach. He has stepped down, feeling a little stressed out. Now, this will be his second season out of the league, out of coaching. 57 years old, mind you. Nick Saban is 69, folks. He's coaching at his highest level, okay? So that would be the first guy I would contact, would be him. And as far as anybody else, Bruce Feldman talked about Lane Kiffin. I'm saying, what about Hugh Freeze? The guy I said that Tennessee, and I'm going to talk about, there's a Tennessee story here in a little bit I'll talk about in a minute, about throwing trash on the field. But people like Hugh Freeze, Bob Stoops, don't laugh. Bob Stoops is 61. He retired a few years ago from Oklahoma, but remember, he returned, I want to say, to the XFL. And last year, Bob Stoops, he retired because of his, the heart issues. He was the same year his dad died, whatever. But he's a national championship. His brother coaches at Mark Stoops at Kentucky. Would they reach out to Mark Stoops? Yes, he's going to make these big calls. This Woodard guy is a big swinger. You're going to hear about big names like Dabo saying no. Jimbo Fisher's already said no. You know, so this is good. This is a bigger. Some say that, and I would agree. When you win a national championship with guys like Ed Orgeron and Les Miles, within a 15-year period, you've got a good program. The last great coach was Saban, right? So when you got these two guys in there, you've got, I would say, 180-mile radius from Baton Rouge, and you circle all the way, since Texas teams, through Texas, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, that little area through there, North Florida, the northwest panhandle there of Florida. You get plenty of players. It's just plenty, as much as you want to get. There's plenty of players in East Texas and Southwest, Southeast Louisiana, that area through there. So those are the coaches that I would reach out to. I mean, they may even go after Lincoln Riley, for instance. This guy's going to take every big shot. You're going to hear a lot of big names come up. But I wouldn't think small. I would try to get a guy like a Bob Stoops if he feels like he can handle this pressure cooker for, 8 or 9 years, maybe deliver. Bob Stoops, Hugh Freeze, these two guys beat Big Saban. Okay. Bob Stoops has beat Saban, I want to say twice when he was at Oklahoma. I know one time. But I want to say twice he's beat Nick Saban. These other guys cannot beat Nick Saban, So this is a big time job to keep an eye on, quite frankly. Staying in college, I've got an NBA story I'm going to talk about, but there was a lot of talk about they stopped the game, speaking of college football, at the University of Tennessee with Ole Miss. Former head coach there walked out on Tennessee, Lane Kiffin, and the Ole Miss was playing at the University of Tennessee. There was like somebody said it's anywhere from 15 to 30 minute stoppage of fans throwing trash and golf balls on the field, and a golf ball hitting Coach Lane Kiffin from the Ole Miss Rebels. And that is just perfect for the analogy of how bad the team really is. They should be throwing trash at the chancellor's office, at the AD. Look in the mirror. I said when they hired this guy, Josh Heupel, that I'm going to boycott the season. I haven't held up to that 100%. I've watched about 15 minutes of them this past year. And the only reason I've done that is because I've had some money and I've been taking up wages this year. Sports gambling's legal here. I've been betting against Tennessee. I took Florida in the points for Tennessee. I think they're 23-point underdogs against Alabama, and I think that they could probably beat Tennessee by 25. But you look at the guy, like I said, they hire Heupel, who Danny White was his AD at UCF. So he just hires a guy that coached under him at UCF instead of hiring the best possible candidate. For example, Jamie Chadwell. You know who Jamie Chadwell is? He's the head coach of Coastal Carolina. They went 11-1 last year. And this year they're undefeated. He is a East Tennessee native. Got Coastal Carolina ranked. Nobody called the guy. Nobody called. He said it would be his dream job. Hugh Freeze is from West Tennessee. Tennessee didn't want to hire him. They didn't want to hire this guy. So, you're getting guys like, oh, Lord, I didn't even write these clowns down. Butch Jones. The other clown pickle they had from, I can't remember his Derek Dooley. He don't even have a winning name, And then you got Jeremy Pruitt, was like the 6th or 7th pick there. That's 3 clowns. That's a clown show right there. Pruitt's probably a good coordinator, good recruiter. He's not a good head coaching material. Rest of these guys, what are they doing? Gym teachers. So if you don't take it, why should we take it? But the program is garbage. I mean, that was just perfect. That was probably a good thing. That was the fan base having enough. And they were fined $250,000. And I'm glad they were fined $250,000. Go out and take the program seriously. If you can't afford it, don't hire a new coach. Jimmy Haslam is the owner of the Cleveland Browns. His family started the Pilot gas stations. They're the biggest donors of University of Tennessee. So they've got the money to make things happen up there in Knoxville. And for whatever reason, they don't. They don't do nothing. And, Hugh Freeze right now, Liberty, got a top draft pick potential, Malik Willis, ranked last year. I've never even heard of Liberty being ranked. And this guy's a West Tennessee native. So it stole the trash at the chancellor's front door. Throw it at the AD's office. Film that. That's what you should do. This guy's got plenty of money. He needs to take control of this and go out and get a real coach. Spend the money. I talked about Mark Stoops. He got Kentucky. Kentucky is better than Tennessee now. If you can do it at Kentucky, you can do it anywhere. They were the bottom feeder. They were right there with Vanderbilt. Okay? It can be done. If you pay, they will come. If you build it, recruits will come. Field of Dreams. It's an awesome game they had last year, the Field of Dreams. So that is my take on that. Not a proud moment, but expected moment. In other news, the NBA starts tonight. I like the Nets to get it together and win it. Possibly the Bucks win it this year. I don't think the Lakers are going to do anything. As far as championship-wise, I just don't see it. Now, Ben Simmons, this was a good story for me. I like the fact that Ben Simmons has been suspended for 1 game by Doc Rivers. And it's for conduct detrimental to the team, not wanting to do a defensive drill in practice. He's carrying his cell phone with him while he's practicing, looking at it. And nobody's, he's very disrespectful to Doc Rivers. And I like the fact that they suspended him for 1 game. I like the fact that they told him, if you don't come back, we're not going to pay you. We're going to put your money in escrow account. This league is too much of a players league, and it's gotten off the hinges, and it's gotten out of control. And Philadelphia, I like the way they've handled it. And quite frankly, even though I don't agree with what New York is doing with the vaccine mandates, I like the way the Nets handled that. They said, Kyrie, we're not paying you. Matter of fact, we don't want you to be around the facility and cause that. Take your team back. Stop letting 25 and 26-year-olds run your league. And so I'm perfectly fine with that. For those of you say that, it does also, in a sense, it does hurt his trade value. So if I'm Simmons, I'm going to go play my butt off because I want to get traded to a better team. He's making a case to get traded to Orlando. Cleveland someplace, Pickles. And yeah. And Meade said that he didn't really care. he said he's not babysitting. So it's really getting tense up there in Philadelphia. This guy's a really good defender. He has been pampered all of his life, but a lot of these NBA players have been treated that way, you know? So if I'm Daryl Morey, I'd try to do everything I can to trade him anyways and get him out of there. I think he's asking the Kings ransom. I think February, we're all back on the regular schedule, which sucks. I think that the NBA should, again, they should have started in around Christmas time and take it throughout July, but they just don't want to listen to people like me, so the heck with them. But since they have to have it this way, February, you got the trade deadline. If I'm Morey, still try to do a deal with maybe Portland, somebody like that. If I can get something from Orlando, some bench players, with Embiid, I don't know. I think I might do that. I want to get rid of this guy at this point. They still got a lot of players on that team. Still a fairly deep team. Get some more role players. Look at Milwaukee. Not a lot of stars, but just good glue guys. One big star, Giannis. So I just like the fact that they're not letting him be that kind of distraction and run over their team. I like the fact that Rivers is not walking gingerly. I like the fact that he's not walking on eggshells. He said, "You do what I ask you, or I'm going to suspend you." That's the kind of decisions, going back to what I was saying about Kevin Stefanski, that he should have done. He said, "Okay, listen, DC, defensive coordinator, you're not doing your job right. And Baker Mayfield, you're not playing right and you're hurt, or you're both. Either way, you're hurting this team. Casey Keenum, warm up, you're getting in there. Done. So kudos to Doc Rivers for doing that. And again, everybody, next no show Thursday. Scheduling conflict. Got some work to do on my car. It's going to, on Friday, it's going to mess up everything. Jay Mills, former football coach. I think he's a pastor now. I want to say Jay's got a book coming out called Come On. And he will be on the program next Tuesday. Lou Holtz wrote the foreword for this book. This guy's good friends of Lou Holtz. Okay. And kind of reminds me, just looking at the excerpts from the book, it comes out tomorrow. And we will talk about more availability where this book will be next week. Jay had a Game On, has contacted me, and that it's called Game On, Pickles. Game On. Yeah. And you know what? That goes to show you that this show's growing. Someone like that of his caliber. Several months ago, we had Steph Wood and their coaches conference reached out to me. I've had Kavarius Tears, University of Tennessee baseball player. I know his mom got on the program. So the program is growing. And I'm not even marketing for that. So, we're going places here on Sports Scope, everybody. Make sure and tune in for that around this time next week, next Tuesday, everybody. So, again, we will talk about that next week. And one more time, it's called Game On. Yes, that is true. A Coach's Game Plan for Discipleship by Jay Mills, forward by Lou Holtz. That's the official on it. And again, I'll get into Ask Jay about his time as a player, as an assistant for Lou Holtz, and some of his other jobs he's taken and why he's doing what he's doing now. Okay? All right, everybody. If you like the show, please share the show. We'll be back on Mac and Jack on Sunday around 7:30 a.m. Central Time. The Northeast Streaming Sports show there. We'll be talking this weekend sports, little NFL talk there. with Mac and Jack and former Dallas Cowboy Jim Jeffcoat. So I'm getting in good circles, everybody. Getting in good circles, okay? And again, I will be back on next Tuesday around 9. Got a special show with Jay Mills coming up. Have a good night, everybody. I will see you next Tuesday on this program here on Sports Scope.